This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the powerful website building tool. Stick around until the end of the video to learn more about a special offer they're making available through my channel. If I could pick just one core exercise for a great ripped six-pack and fantastic athletic performance, I'd probably choose the ab rollout. Here's why. The ab rollout is known as being a particularly brutal exercise. You've all seen it. You grab an ab roller or a dumbbell or a slidey cloth, and then you extend your body forwards so that you're like a plank for retracting everything back in one nice smooth movement. Made quite famous by Jackie Chan in his movie Gorgeous, but you've also seen a bunch of other people doing it. But it's not just a flex, because although performed this way, it is something of a show-stopping party trick. There are lots of easier variations that make it an accessible movement for anyone to add to their toolkit. And these easier variations still are no slouch. They're still going to develop not only a ripped and strong looking midsection, but a very powerful and athletic core, more so than nearly any other exercise that I can think of. So obviously one of the easiest variations if you struggle with the full standing version is just to perform the same exercise on your knees. This obviously significantly reduces not only the range of motion, but also the amount of relative weight that you're carrying through your core and through your shoulders and arms. Another option is to, instead of using an ab wheel, you can walk your hands out. That works really well as well. You can also use a raised platform so that the actual wheel is raised relative to your body. And if you don't have a wheel, like I say, you can use a dumbbell, which you just loosen off the weight plates so that they roll. Alternatively, you can even use a cloth or a t-shirt on a nicely shiny, polished floor, and this should slide forwards and backwards. And if that's still too much, you can even just use a partial range of motion. Just go out this far or however you can and build up to it slowly over time. You know me, I like to do high rep ranges on the easier variations, and even to do the full range of motion version from standing, and then to finish on high repetition kneeling ab rollouts, which, as you can imagine, is pretty brutal. So the truth is, although this movement looks very dynamic, it has lots of range of motion, as far as the core is concerned, it's actually a static hold. It's actually a stability exercise. You're not flexing the core here. You're instead keeping your body or torso as rigid as possible. So as you go out and come back in, it's actually a hip hinge. And this is what makes it such an effective movement, because as many of you probably know by now, you need a rigid core in order to generate any power. It's like if you're on a swing and you hit something with a baseball bat, you're going to go backwards, not the thing that you hit. In order to produce power in the real world, you need as much stability as possible, and all athleticism is improved through this. That's why a lot of movements that involve keeping the core rigid are so powerful, and they're used by a lot of athletic coaches. And guys, it's for all these reasons that I chose to include the ab rollouts prominently in my brand new training program, Super Functional Training 3 Super Mover. After 4 years since the last one, Super Functional Training 3 is finally out, and it's my biggest and best program yet. By far, the objective here is to improve functional movement for sprinting, running, fighting, jumping, climbing, lifting heavy things, whilst at the same time building an athletic and ripped-looking physique. And I wanted to do this in as practical and seamless a way as possible. We don't need any equipment, with lots of scalable calisthenics, predominantly movements, and optional kettlebells. That makes the ab roller a perfect movement for that workout, which is why I feature it prominently. You can check out the new program in the description down below. Also comes with a 200+ page ebook, my most in-depth exploration into training yet. It comes with a whole bunch of additional materials, cheat sheets for the liquid motion mobility system, for my internal calisthenics system. Also comes with cool exercise cards that you can save to your phone so you can flick through and remember the workout for easy reference, but also with these awesome anime illustrations to make you feel like you're in an anime training arc, to make your workouts feel exciting and engaging rather than just boring and rote. You can see the one for the ab rollout on the screen right now, and just like everything else in the program, there are lots of easier and harder variations to choose from instead if you can't do the ab rollout or if you just fancy something a bit different. If you're interested, please check it out in the link in the description down below. It took me over a year of hard work, hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I'm extremely pleased with it. But of course, you have to spend money. You can create your own calisthenics program. I just highly recommend that you include ab rollouts and subcapacity if you're interested in functional and athletic performance. Anyways, let's get back to the show. The great thing about the ab rollout is that whatever form you're training, it's static throughout the movement. Your body is moving, but the core is remaining largely static, and that is how we actually use it when we're really performing in the real world. This was a good exercise for the rectus abdomini and the transverse abdomini. The rectus abdomini being the sheet of muscle that formed your six-pack that you use to flex your torso. The transverse abdomini being the muscles that wrap around, allowing you to suck in your gut, create those ab vacuums, also just creates a lot of stability. So you're training these two things at the same time to create a core that looks great because you're building a lot of strength through it, but also, like I say, performs well, whether you're a martial artist, whether you play a sport, or whether you just want to move through your daily life without putting your back out all the time. Having that core stability is what is so powerful about this movement. It has less in common with, say, a sit-up or a crunch, and more in common with something like a dragon flag or a Lane push-up, other movements where you're keeping your core as stable as possible. Most specifically, this is anti-extension, meaning that I'm flexing my body to prevent it extending. This is not only important, like I say, for all those athletic movements, it's also important when you pick something up and don't want your back to bend backwards as you hoist it off the ground. Another movement this has a lot in common with is the hollow body position, the hollow body hold, where you're just holding your body in that nice concave position. And this is the position you hold when you're throwing punches. This also prepares you for other advanced calisthenics movements, like I say, like the dragon flag, but also like things like planche training. So that's why this is such a powerful movement. You need to keep this in mind when you're performing it, of course. So it's not core flexion, you're not curling your body back up, you're hinging at the hips in order to bring your torso to meet your legs. You want to move the whole body as one, so the arms come in, the arms move at the same time as the hips. You don't want to roll your arms in and then your hips all out of sequence. This is one nicely coordinated movement, which is another great thing about it because you're building that full body coordination. And you want to try and maintain that hollow body position throughout the movement. So you're not trying to extend as far overhead as you possibly can, because when you do that, you're going to stretch out your midsection. This is going to force you to create that small of your back hollow, which isn't what we want. You want to maintain a posterior pelvic tilt, so butt, tail tucked, not forwards, creating that dip, because that's where you're going to put the pressure on the spine. This is also why it's so important to start with those easier variations, walking out on your hands, doing it on your knees, because if you do have any existing back pain, this might be a bit too full on to begin with. Likewise, start with the hollow body, build up to this over time, but once you get to that point, you'll have such a rigid back, such great stability, you can move confidently with far less chance of putting your back out during athletic movements. What's also great about ab rollouts though is that they also engage the lats. Obviously, as you extend your arms overhead, you're going to need to engage your lats. And this is brilliant because the lats, of course, we think of them as pulling muscles, but they're also really important for core stability. That's because they originate actually from the thoracic spine, from the thoracolumbar fascia, from the scapula, from the ribs even. And all of this means that when you create rigid tension in the lats, it actually contributes to an even more rigid core. So you're learning here to engage the lats at the same time as the rest of the core, thereby creating the most stable and rigid abdominal section possible, something that we rarely practice in any other movement. Another great thing about this being that it's one of the very few ways to actually train lats, to engage lats, if you don't have access to a pull-up bar or a barbell. That's why you want to keep your arms nice and straight throughout the movement. That will make sure you're really engaging the lats, and you don't have to get them as overhead as I do in some of these clips, but if you keep them slightly lower, it's going to train the lats slightly less, but at the same time, make it slightly easier on the core. And it is okay to have a slight bend in the elbow when you're doing this. You'll notice actually Jackie Chan does in that gorgeous clip. Another great thing about the ab rollout though is that it isn't purely a static hold. It's not purely an anti-extension movement. There is an element of flexion in the exercise. Whilst you should be keeping your torso rigid, whilst you should be maintaining that hollow body position, unless you're like a perfect mover, you're not going to be able to keep this completely rigid as you hinge the hips. You are going to flex the core a little bit as you bring the roller towards you. Likewise, when you reach out overhead, there's going to be a slight stretch at the top of the spine and around the middle. You're going to extend ever so slightly. This isn't a bug, in my opinion, it's a feature. It's teaching you to move through the range of motion in a very controlled and stabilized manner. Again, this is something we actually need to do. A lot of people talk about the spine being just for stabilization and not flexing or extending, but this is very short-sighted. We flex and extend the spine both in a small way and a big way all the time. We do it when we're standing up from sitting down. We do it when we're throwing something. We extend the spine backwards and then flex forwards. We do it when we're throwing a punch, when we're wrestling. We do it when we pick something up off the ground, unless you're going to always hinge perfectly. No one moves like that. You should be able to move the core in a controlled and strong manner, and that's exactly what you're doing with the ab rollout. Just a little bit, but that's another thing that I really like about this movement. Another thing I love about the movement is just how progressible it is, because we're so used to piling lots of weight on our biceps with our curls, on our lats with our rows, and our pecs with our bench presses. But when it comes to the core and the abs, we very often use only body weight. And if you're doing things like sit-ups and crunches, it's not going to be very much body weight either. Now, partly that's because it's hard to load up the abs with a lot of weight because, you know, they don't have fingers. But at the same time, I think it's just because people have gotten into the habit. They don't think of it being worthwhile training the abs in that same way. When you do the full ab rollout, you're adding so much challenge to the core. If you can do this for 10 reps, a full ab rollout, then you're in elite level strength in terms of your core stability. You don't need more than that. And the great thing is that you're putting the most of that resistance on the core when you're in this nice, extended, stretched out position, which is really hard to train in that way otherwise. And this is going to give you very, very strong abs, not only in terms of performance, stronger than someone who's just doing crunches and sit-ups or hoping to train them vicariously through other movements. At the same time, it's going to make them look stronger, because you hear all this about, you know, reducing body fat being the only thing you need to do to see visible abs. Well, that's true to an extent, but the stronger they are, the better they're going to look. And also, the more they're going to protrude even through a little bit of extra body fat, like I'm carrying. If you have strong enough abs, they'll bulge through. And if you want proof, just consider the difference between how they look now and how they look when they're contracted. You can basically achieve this look all the time by getting them strong enough to look like that all the time. And that's one of the reasons that the ab rollout builds such a fantastic looking core, because not only are you building the strength there, you're also building the transverse abdomini, meaning that you get it nicely pulled in all the time to have a flat and very strong looking core. And that's what will make you look athletic rather than just like a bloated powerlifter or bodybuilder. No offense to those guys, they've got brilliant physiques elsewhere, but if they did this kind of training for their core, they'd look even better. Or rather than, obviously some have great cores. My point being that you can progressively overload your core, your abs, in just the same way that you're used to doing for your biceps, for your lats and your pecs, and you'll get just as impressive results. If you're only ever doing, you know, a few sit-ups and crunches, while sit-ups and crunches can be very effective, as I've talked about in another video, I mean, this is the next level, and it's going to help you take your core to the next level. So there you go, guys. That's the ab rollout, and that's why I highly recommend it and how you can get the very most out of it. Let me know if you guys use ab rollouts in the description down below, or what your favourite core exercise is. And like I say, if you want to try a training program that's got this built in, then check out my brand new Super Functional Training 3 Super Mover down below. Either way though, guys, thank you so much for watching this one, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. By the way, guys, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. For those of you who don't know, Squarespace is a website building platform that makes it extremely simple for anyone to get a website up and running in genuinely a matter of minutes. You can do this either by using their AI tools that will guide you through the process and create something completely bespoke, or by choosing one of their ready-made templates that are all beautiful, responsive and modern, and then customizing them to your heart's content to make something that is truly yours. It genuinely takes a matter of minutes, at which point you can start adding content or adding features through a vast range of plugins and additional built-in features. That includes things like e-commerce for selling products online, appointment scheduling for selling services and making bookings with your clients, things like search engine optimization to help people find you more easily through Google. It includes things like analytics, so you can see what's working and what you need to change to get as much traffic to your site as possible, and a fully integrated commenting system with threaded comments, replies and likes. There's social media integration. There's so much stuff. I highly recommend Squarespace as the easiest way to get a very professional website up and running in minutes. If you want to find out more, then go to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Bioneer to get 10% off your domain or website. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Thanks to you guys for sticking around till the end. Bye for now.